This is my first video update coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus on this Sunday morning. With all the oranges just like falling right off the trees. Let's talk about the news, everybody. And what should we start off with? Okay, so we had something go down in Iran yesterday evening. And I think there was a lot of misinformation floating around the interwebs as to what was going on and the actual scale of these attacks. That's what it appears to be, some sort of drone attack on some sort of military facilities or something like that. And at first, as this story was breaking, it seemed like there was a lot of cities under attack, a lot of drones hitting out at Iran. But as the evening went along, I think we got more clarity as to what was happening. And it looks like, I don't want to say it was a minor attack, like a minor incident, but it doesn't look as large scale as what it initially appeared to be. I'm just going to read you what the Iranian Ministry of Defense said about an attack which appears to have taken place in just one facility in Isfahan. Now, I know there were videos going around yesterday evening of attacks taking place in various cities. That one report said in 9 cities in Iran, but it looks like this was just one city where this occurred. I can't confirm any of this. I'm just going to read you what the Iranian Ministry of Defense said in a statement, and I quote, "Today at 23:30, there was an unsuccessful attack using a UAV on one of the workshop complexes of the Ministry of Defense in Isfahan. One drone was shot down by anti-aircraft fire, while 2 others fell on the roof of the building. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Only minor damage was caused to the roof of the workshop. The equipment is intact. The Ministry of Defense and support of the armed forces assures that it will continue its security activities and these provocations will not affect the life of the country." So an attack on workshop facilities. Nice wheels. Really, really nice wheels here. So, I don't know. I don't know if this was a large-scale attack. I don't know if this was, as the Iranian Ministry of Defense puts it, just a drone attack on. Let me cross. A drone attack on one workshop facility. No real way to confirm this, but that's what the Ministry of Defense is saying. I wonder if that workshop facility was allegedly manufacturing the drones that allegedly the Iranians are providing to Russia. And that has the whole collective West in a fit about those Iranian drones. Just a thought. Let's move on now and talk about, not about tanks. Forget tanks. Tanks are old news. We need to talk about fighter jets and long-range missiles. So Zelensky, in his evening briefing that he gives almost every night, his little video Instagram briefing, he said that what Ukraine really needs, like really needs, is long-range missiles. That's absolutely what they need. Tanks are useless. Forget tanks. Tanks, we don't need them. We don't need them. We'll put the 300 plus tanks to some sort of use, but you know what we really need, according to Zelensky, is long-range missiles. That's what's going to make the difference. Meanwhile, Politico is saying that there are forces in the Pentagon at the moment that are trying to get F-16s to Ukraine, and that these forces in the Pentagon, these factions in the Pentagon are actually starting to gain traction. They're starting to be heard, and the Biden White House is starting to listen to these factions in the Pentagon, which are saying, you know what, tanks, Abrams, whatever, F-16s. Now that's what we really need to send to Ukraine. And you have various articles now surfacing which claim that, you know, tanks are all well and good, but there's going to be some problems with tanks. I talked about the article yesterday from CNN where they said that if Putin manages to capture a Leopard or an Abrams tank, well, then it's going to, you know, really serve well for his propaganda purposes. The U.S., according to, I think it was the New York Times, they ran an article saying that the U.S. is very concerned about some of the tech on the Abrams tanks. So they're going to send new Abrams tanks in about a year to Ukraine, but it's not going to have a type of protective armor. It's not going to be the super high-tech Abrams tanks. And then you have this article which came out from The Sun, which claims that the British Defense Ministry is afraid that Challenger tanks will fall into the hands of the Russian military on the battlefields. And so The Sun is pretty much echoing what the mainstream media in the United States was saying about the Abrams, which is that if these Challenger tanks fall into the hands of Putin, well, then Putin's going to find out what kind of tech we use on the Challenger tanks, which is this super duper armor that they have on the Challenger, which allegedly makes them impenetrable. And they don't want this tech to fall into the hands of the Russians. And so the defense minister, Ben Wallace, he is in consultation with the Ukraine military to find a way to provide them the tanks, but to not have the tanks if they are taken out by the Russians. And not so much taken out because the claims are that these tanks can't be destroyed, but if for some reason they falter and they stall during battle, then he's putting together mechanisms with the Ukraine military to figure out ways to get those tanks back to I was almost hit by that car. To get those tanks back to where they need to go and not fall into the hands of the Russians. The armor that the Challengers use is Chobham armor. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Codename Dorchester. It has never been breached by enemy fire, according to Army sources. I don't know how high-tech, how cutting-edge this armor is, but these are the claims that the Defense Ministry is making, the Army is making. A source to The Sun, explained that the British armor is the best in the world. In the history of the Challenger 2S, only one has been destroyed in battle, and that was by friendly fire in Iraq. The Russians will be desperate to try and kill and capture Challenger 2, partly for their propaganda, but also to get their hands on its secrets. This is according to The Sun. So, you know, everyone was pushing for the tanks for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Tanks. And now, all of a sudden, the ink hasn't even dried on the whole tank thing, the whole tank deal. And all of a sudden, it's, you know, tanks, not such a good idea. We got these issues and we got those issues, and there's this armor stuff and there's this technology stuff and this secrets falling into Russia stuff and Putin propaganda stuff. So, you know, maybe tanks are just not such a great idea. Long-range missiles, fighter jets, F-16s, that's the ticket. That's what we need to send to Ukraine. That's going to make the difference. On the flip side, you have a whole nother faction of the Pentagon, which is trying to figure out a way to get an off-ramp to this conflict. And that was reflected in the Rand Corp's document that they put out, this study that they put together, where they say, you know what, short term, we're not going to find a way out of this mess for various reasons, mostly political. But we need to start really finding a way out of this long term, because we're heading towards World War III. We're heading towards economic disaster. And Russia's winning. And so this is looking bad from all angles. And so we need to figure out a way now to start prepping society, prepping Ukrainians, prepping the collective West, Americans, Europeans. We need to start preparing them for some sort of off-ramp that's not going to cause a whole bunch of political fallout. One side of the Pentagon, it appears, is trying to escalate quickly. The other side of the Pentagon, and I'm saying the Pentagon, this is just my assumption. I imagine the side of the Pentagon that's trying to escalate is probably Pentagon, Department of State, that faction. The other side of the Pentagon is saying this is not working out. This is going very, very bad. We need to start to prepare a way to get out of this. And there were Senate Republicans yesterday who were giving a press conference, and they were taking questions about the debt ceiling. And that was the focus of the press conference, and their statements were focused on the debt ceiling. But a journalist did ask about the conflict in Ukraine. And one of the senators, I believe it was Ron Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. I'll play the video for everybody. I'll put the video in during post, but I'm trying to remember the exact scenario. But I think it was Ron Johnson. He was asked about Ukraine, and he came out and he made a very interesting comment. He said that they just got done with a security briefing. He was like, look, we were just briefed as to what's going on with regards to the conflict in Ukraine. And he said that they want to support Zelensky, but Ukraine cannot depend on support forever. Something along those lines, and I'll play the video right now so you can see it.
Yeah. I have one on a different topic. As Vice Chair of the Senate Ukraine Caucus, what's your reaction to the administration's plans to send ballot tanks to Ukraine?
We just came from a secure briefing on that. The question I had is, how are they going to change the dynamics on the field? So I certainly want to support the people of Ukraine, but at some point in time, we're going to start recognizing what the reality of the ground is. Thank you.
So I thought this was an interesting statement from Ron Johnson, because to me, it signals that these senators were briefed as to the situation on the ground. They saw what's happening. They understand that they're losing. They understand that they're going to lose. They understand that whatever they give to Ukraine, Russia has escalatory dominance, and they're just going to match it and better it. But the risks are we're going to head towards World War III if this continues. And they came out of that meeting and said, we agree with what the Rand Corp said. We agree with that document, is what they said. We align with it. We have to find a way, slowly, to start framing the narrative towards some sort of off-ramp, some sort of way out of this. So those are the two opposing factions, I think, that you have right now at the moment. One faction is saying escalate and escalate quick. Tanks. Okay, tanks are done. Next. Long-range missiles, great. Long-range missiles done. Next. Fighter jets, great. I mean, they're trying to escalate quickly because they understand. You see, the Pentagon, the neocons, Department of State of the U.S., they understand that their narrative is crumbling. The Ukraine winning narrative, no one buys that anymore. The Russia's running out of weapons narrative, no one buys that anymore. Zelensky's a hero narrative, people are starting to doubt that as well. Salvini yesterday, he was like, when he was asked to comment about the Italian song contest and having Zelensky speak, Salvini was pretty much saying, I don't want this clown to speak at this song festival. That was what Salvini pretty much said. You have the situation going on in Transcarpathia with the Hungarians, and they're trying, the EU's trying to keep a lid on this story because it's going to really look bad for Zelensky. What the Zelensky regime is doing to people in that region, but how are they gonna keep a lid on this? You have the fact that Zelensky is constantly asking for money and more money and more money, and this is pissing a lot of people off now. The point is that the Pentagon, neocon, Department of State faction that wants to keep this war going because they are making record profits for the military-industrial complex. It's part of their obsession and desire to try and destroy Russia, so they're fixated on keeping this thing going. And the only way they can keep it going is by escalating, but now they find themselves at a place where they need to speed up the escalator. Because on the other side of things, it's crumbling. It's crumbling in Bakhmut, it's crumbling in Ugledar, it's crumbling in Zaporozhye, it's crumbling. They realize that. So their whole plan is speed up the damn escalator. Where's the forward button? Where's the speed up button? How do I get this escalator moving faster? Tanks, done. Fighter jets, done. Long range missiles, done. NATO troops on the ground. When can we get to that? That's why you see this rapid escalation, in my opinion, from them. I bet you that Rand Corp study really freaked them out. I bet you it really freaked them out. That's why you have Zelensky yesterday evening on his evening Instagram video. That's why you have him saying, "We need long-range missiles." That's the situation going on there. That's how I see it, at least. Baerbock and Schultz. Schultz is running around Latin America right now trying to do the bidding of the neocons and trying to find a way to keep this conflict going. So he's trying to get Brazil to give him ammo. He's in Argentina and he's trying to get Argentina to give him ammo because Schultz is a neocon. He's just a spineless, weak neocon. That's it. There's no difference between Schultz and Nuland. It's just that Nuland has balls and Schultz doesn't have balls. That's the difference. So they sent Schultz around to try and figure out a way to get ammo. How do I go and get ammo for Ukraine? So he's running around trying to figure it out. And they're contacting Brazil. Germany's contacting Brazil. Lula's saying, buzz off. And Schultz flies into Argentina. And he approaches the president of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez. And he says, look, Alberto Fernandez, Mr. President, can you spare some ammo for Germany so we can send it off to Ukraine? And the president of Argentina said this. He said, Argentina and Latin America are not thinking about sending arms, either to Ukraine or to any other conflict zone.
Lo que sí estoy seguro es que el canciller y yo lo que más deseamos es que la paz se recupere cuanto antes. En eso tenemos plena coincidencia. Argentina y América Latina no está pensando en mandar armamentos ni a Ucrania ni a ningún otro lugar en conflicto.
This is what he said during a press conference in Buenos Aires following his meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Limassol is an interesting city. It's a city where you have a whole bunch of new buildings, new multi-million-dollar high-rises, and then it's a city where everything else is closing down. For rent, closed. Okay, they're fixing that up. I haven't been able to figure out this city. It seems like it's for the super wealthy, but then there's another side of the city which is just crumbling. This is also closed right here as well. Closed. And I'm like in like the downtown, like central area, if you could call it that. This is called the downtown tourist district of Limassol. So that's Schultz. Baerbock, well, she has her PR team running around saying that the statement about we are fighting a war against Russia, that's all made up. And it's Russian propaganda now that is manipulating what she said. Let me get you an article here, which is, I guess it's gaslighting is what you would call it. She's trying to gaslight everybody. Germany accuses Russia of twisting ministers' war comments for propaganda. And this is being run on Reuters, on Euronews, on all of the collective West media outlets. In other words, instead of Baerbock coming out, manning up, she should manning up and saying, is this the entrance to the beach? Let's take a look. Instead of Baerbock coming out and saying, look, I misspoke. I wanted to say that we are fighting a war against Russia because I don't know. I don't know what she could have said to explain what she said. I don't know. Maybe she could have said something like, look, I'm inexperienced as foreign minister. I'm kind of dumb, but and you know, I was listening to what some other people told me, and so I said we are fighting a war against Russia. It was a stupid thing to say. What can I do? I'm not very good at this diplomacy stuff. I was only appointed foreign minister because of the neocons pressuring the German government to put me in that position. She could have said something like that. But instead of coming out and trying to just explain away her stupidity and her lack of experience and the fact that she's way in over her head, what does she do? She gets the propaganda machine operating in the collective West. And what they say is that the Russian propaganda machine is twisting her words. What words are they twisting? What words are they twisting? What words does anyone need to twist? We are fighting a war against Russia. I mean, there's really not much to twist there, to be quite honest. Now, what the Russian propaganda, what the state media is doing, as any state media would do, because state media is going to look after the interests of the state. Call it propaganda, call it state media, whatever. That's what they're going to do. Yeah, propaganda, Russian propaganda. What they're going to do is they're going to take that quote and they're just going to repeat it. They don't really have much to twist, do they? There really isn't anything to twist there. It's a little bit windy, and I don't have my windshield, my dead cat, for the mic. So anyway, yeah. So that's that's what Baerbock is now trying to do. She's trying to fix a terrible mistake with a lie, because she just can't admit that she's not cut out for the job of top diplomat for Germany. It would be better if she just came out and said, I'm learning as I go along. What can I do? What can I do? She would be much better served if she said that. She'd probably be fired, but at least it's the truth. So instead, they're circling the wagon and they're trying to protect her, the mainstream media outlets. And they're trying to say stuff like, actually, let's walk down. And they're trying to say stuff like, oh, well, the Russian propaganda, they're twisting her words. Twisting her words. Nothing to twist. Nothing to twist at all. All Russian propaganda has to do is repeat her words. I've always said this when it comes to Russian propaganda, state media, like say RT. I've always had a philosophy of this when I had to explain RT. RT has the hardest job in the world, but they also have the easiest job in the world. They have the hardest job in the world because the collective West is always going after them, right? They're always going after them. They're trying to seize their bank accounts. They're trying to close them down. They're smearing them. They're going after their journalists. They're terrorizing them. They're always going after them. So it's the hardest job in the world to like work for RT or say like a Russian state media. On the flip side, it's the easiest job in the world because, let's walk this way, because you don't really have to make stuff up like the collective West. You don't have to twist words around. You don't have to make things up. You don't need script writers. All you have to do is just take quotes from like Baerbock and just repeat them. That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't really have to do anything when it comes to creative writing. Oh, Baerbock said this? Great. Okay, let me just reprint this. Let me put a title. German foreign minister says we are at war with Russia. Okay, print. Dmitry Medvedev, he put out a post with regards to Baerbock. You didn't think that Medvedev would leave this whole incident without putting out a post. You don't think he would leave it unanswered. He said, a catchy phrase, we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Isn't it great when Germany's foreign minister is such an utter and useful fool? Oh, very windy. All right, let's get out of the wind so I can finish off this video. It's maybe, I need to get back out to the street. That's what I need to do. Less wind. So let's do a clown world here. And for this clown world, we'll focus in on Trudeau. And you see, another closed building or restaurant. Another closed restaurant. Right on the beach. This would have been a nice restaurant, huh? Sea view right there. Bizarre city, Limassol. Very bizarre city. So let's turn our attention to Canada, where Justin Trudeau the other day was in Hamilton, and he got heckled. Is that the proper word? He got swarmed by some angry citizens who were telling him to resign and to leave, to leave Canada alone and stop destroying the country. And that was an interesting video that went viral. And Tucker Carlson, he sounded off on this whole Trudeau is destroying Canada, time to resign debate that's going on, if you can call it a debate. And he was doing his daytime show. I think it's called Tucker Carlson Today, I think it's called. And he said this: we're spending all this money to liberate Ukraine from the Russians. Why are we not sending an armed force north to liberate Canada from Trudeau? And I mean it.
I mean, why should we stand back and let our biggest trading partner, the country with which we share the longest border, and actually, I could just say a great country. I love Canada. I've always loved Canada because of its natural beauty. Why should we let it become Cuba? Like, why don't we liberate it? We're spending all this money to liberate Ukraine from the Russians. Why are we not sending an armed force north to liberate Canada from Trudeau? And I mean it.
Do I need to comment on this statement from Tucker Carlson? Oh, man. Oh, man. Olaf, why does Tucker hate me so much? Trudeau, you idiot. Tucker hates you because you're an idiot. Yeah, but Olaf, you're also looking like an idiot, running around Latin America trying to find ammo for Ukraine. Trudeau, I'm not an idiot. I'm just a puppet. But you're an idiot. Oh, boy. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. The Duran.locals.com. We are for rent. This would be a nice place to rent out, huh? Straight shot to the beach. Not bad. We are on the Duran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin. We are on all the major video platforms. Telegram, BitChute, Rumble, ODYSEE. Duran Shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. Look for my channel, Alexander's channel, the Duran's channel. On all of the video platforms. I am signing out. Time to get a coffee. Right over here, I think. Take care.